Sorry, folks, it's Friday. Welcome to a new edition of Washington Informer News, our digital broadcast here on WIN TV. We're bringing you the news that matters on this yucky, rainy day. The groundhog has seen his shadow. We've got 6 more weeks of winter, but of course, we knew we were going to have 6 more weeks of winter. I don't know anybody thought that spring was going to come this soon. I mean, winter doesn't even end until March. But anyway, we just live through it, and the temperatures go up, they go down. But whenever spring arrives, I know I'll be happy, and I'm sure you will as well. I hope you've had a chance to pick up a copy of this week's Washington Informer. And I always like to show the real deal here on our screen. This is our issue this week. And hope you pick up a copy of the Washington Informer at your favorite newsstand. We're circulated throughout DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And so pick up a copy anytime, anywhere. It's great to kind of scan through the pages and see the news that our team has put together for you this week. You can also read the digital edition online at www.washingtoninformer.com. If you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and hit share so your followers can see the broadcast. And if you're watching on Twitter, be sure to follow us and we'll follow you back. And if you're a TikTok user, follow us there too. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Washington Informer TV. That's Washington Informer TV. One word, no spaces, straight Washington Informer TV. So we've got a great show for you this afternoon. Our first segment is sponsored by the American Heart Association. It's American Heart Month. And that's why I have on my red today. Chevy said, Denise, remember to wear red. So I tried to find something. Don't have a lot of red. I couldn't wash from a t-shirt. Chevy, I was so upset with myself because that's a staple. I should always be wearing that when I can't figure out what else to wear on any old day. But anyway, I pulled out something because we're going to have a great discussion with the executive director of the Greater Washington region of the American Heart Association, Sula and Antonio, as well as cardiologist Dr. Raquel Weish, who will be here to tell us how we can maintain a healthy heart. Walt Carr is going to join us. He's been a cartoonist for over 50 years. And his work is published weekly in the Washington Informer. So we're looking forward to talk to him because this is Black History Month. And so we're looking to celebrate Black History Month. Like my sign in the back, I want to give a shout out to Chuck Hicks with Mr. Black History, who is circulating those signs throughout the city. And if you happen to want one, you can drop by the Informer office and pick one up because we have several of them here. But so anyway, this is Black History Month, and we're glad to talk to Walt Carr, who has made history with his wonderful cartoons that we use in the Washington Informer and that you've probably seen in other places. Walt has quite a tremendous story to share with us. And then I have Anthony Tilghman, Executive Director of Make Smart Cool, an education nonprofit organization. And Anthony is a photographer with the Informer. So we're just having family biz today. But Anthony's authored a new children's book, and he talked to us about that. Our business spotlight is Act Now Education, founded by active duty naval officer Jay Salters. Act Now provides free education services and opportunities for active duty service members, veterans, military spouses, and their children. And then we are going to have Roy Lewis, the famous Roy Lewis, who has been capturing Black life in photos since 1964. He's a member of our Washington Informer team, and he's covered Black life for over 67 years, not just here in DC at the Informer, but all over. And we're going to hear about where his camera has taken him around the world, focusing primarily on Black life and Black historic events. And before we go to our next segment with Curtis Knowles, I want to hear from you. I want you to, if you're watching, and you can put this in the chat, you can send us your thoughts at news@washingtoninformer.com. That's NEWS at washingtoninformer.com. But I want to know, what do you think about the new name announced this week for the Washington football team? You know, they now call themselves the Washington Commanders. Do you like that name? I've heard people that are taking their own independent polls of people that they know across all kinds of backgrounds, racial groups, you name it, young, old. I'm not hearing a lot of favorable votes on that name right now. And of course, the team says when they start winning, folks will begin to adjust. Well, let's hope that they'll do that. But I want to know what you think. And if there were any of the others, I know Washington Red Tails was one, and there were a few others out there that were options for folks to consider for the name. So if you don't mind, let us know what you're thinking. Put it in the comment section. And at the end of the show, if we have time, we're going to go back and see what our viewers are thinking about the choice that was announced this week, because we're going to have to live with this for years of wins and losses to come. So, let's just keep it moving. So now we're going to hear from our broadcast journalist, Curtis Knowles, with the news of the week.
This is WIN TV News, bringing you the news that matters. Kevin Ward, the mayor of Hyattsville, Maryland, has taken his own life at the age of 44. Ward, who passed away on January 25th, his body was found in an urban area not far from the district. The official website for Hyattsville City said on Wednesday, "It is with great sadness that we report that our beloved Hyattsville mayor, Kevin Ward, has passed away. To anybody dealing with suicidal thoughts, please contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline for assistance at www.suicidepreventionlifeline.org, or you can call the 24-hour service at 1-800-272-8255. CNN President Jeff Zucker abruptly resigned Wednesday morning after acknowledging a romantic relationship with a fellow network executive. Staffers at the CNN office were shocked by Zucker's departure, and the network interrupted its own live broadcast to announce the news. Zucker said in a statement that he had failed to properly disclose to his company that he had entered into a, quote, consensual relationship with my closest colleague, revealed later to be Allison Gollust, the executive vice president and chief marketing officer at CNN Worldwide. The streaming company Spotify has come under fire after its top podcast star Joe Rogan spread misinformation on the COVID vaccine. Hundreds of medical experts signed an open letter to Spotify denouncing the disinformation. Premier musicians Neil Young and Joni Mitchell have also voiced ire against Spotify, saying that they want their music taken down from the service since they are backing Rogan. Spotify has held its ground, however, citing that suppressing or editing Rogan's podcast would amount to censorship. Spotify's chief executive, David Eck, said, "We have a critical role to play in supporting creator expression while balancing it with the safety of our users." The Washington football team has finally donned a new moniker, the Washington Commanders. The rebranding efforts for the team have been in the works since late August 2020. The announcement on NBC's Today Show also included a new logo and uniform combinations. The name change process has been heavily reliant upon fan and alumni feedback. Native Washingtonian Romonda Noble Watson said, "The name gives us a different type of branding, but for me, I'm going to support the franchise no matter the name." This is Curtis Knowles with WIN TV News.
Thank you, Curtis. I appreciate that update on the news this week. And I want to just remind you, Curtis does his thing, but also just make sure that you pick up a copy of the Washington Informer, where you're going to get the greatest local news about from Prince George's County, Washington, D.C., news that you can use. And so we want to make sure you do get out and pick up a copy of the Washington Informer. And as I said, you can check us out online at www.washingtoninformer.com. And while you're there, do me a favor, subscribe to our newsletter. We certainly, that helps us. If people want to know how can we support the Washington Informer, one way to do it is to subscribe to our WIN Daily, our daily newsletter. We're going to be launching some others in the near future. Of course, we have a series, as you've heard in past shows, on our house, keeping homes Black owned, primarily focusing on Ward 7 and 8, but really throughout the community. How do we hold on to our properties and what that means for, quote unquote, building generational wealth? So we've got a couple of newsletters there that we're offering, and we just would love it if you would go ahead and subscribe. So we're going to jump now to American Heart Month with our guest, Sula Antonio, and Executive Director of the American Heart Association, as well as Dr. Raquel Welch, cardiologist. But before we talk to them, let's watch this brief video.
It's been 2 years. We're tired. We're burnt out. We're just trying to get by. But today is the day. It's time to reclaim your rhythm. Pick your playlist and put on your favorite red look. With your jams turned up, get moving. Bring the good vibes and take back control of your health and mental well-being. Little steps add up to big changes. From dancing with your kids in the kitchen to grooving with your girlfriends, staying active is one of the best ways to keep your body and mind healthy. Stress can lead to unhealthy habits, and managing stress means managing your health. So reclaim control of your schedule and build in time to invest in a healthier you. Know your numbers and make moves to help keep your blood pressure on track. Go Red for Women will be here every step of the way. So let's do this together and create healthy habits today that will lead to healthier tomorrows. How will you reclaim your rhythm?
All righty. Good afternoon, Raquel and Sula. How are you all doing? Dr. Weiss, I didn't want to put it that way. How are you all doing this afternoon? I don't see Sula.
Great.
Good, good. I'm glad that you all could join us. And I think the video is very clear, but we're all wearing red today. And so I'm going to start by saying, why are we wearing red? What is the message we're trying to convey to people throughout the community that see us in this beautiful red? Sula?
Well, I do want to thank you for rocking your red. And also, I want to say that February is my favorite time of the year, specifically because it's American Heart Month. And this is when we really want to spotlight heart disease because it is the #1 killer for all Americans. And so during Heart Month, we really want to try to reinforce the importance of heart health. And then also we want to really get people to understand that the things that they do every single day, the healthy habits that they do are going to help improve their heart health and help them to live longer. So we're really working with our Go Red for Women campaign so that we can empower women to take charge of their health.
We acknowledge this every February. Can you all tell us what's happening? Are the numbers getting better? People actually getting the message of like the video that we saw a few minutes ago, things that we need to do to protect our hearts and make our hearts better. Are folks getting the message?
Denise, they are getting the message, but with the advent of the pandemic, I think it's just become really harder and harder. People's stress is up, and I think it's been, people are not moving as much and doing some of the things they have to do. And I'm with Raquel. February is my favorite month of the year. And, the theme for American Heart Month is reclaim your rhythm. And we have that theme because we want to empower women and we want to give women and people a chance to be proactive. And we're doing it through music. You heard it in the video. Music can transport us to a whole different area. And so we want people to take control of their lives, to reclaim their heart health. And that's what this month is all about.
That's great. That's great. And Dr. Weiss, talk to us about, I want to stay on the positive. I definitely want to do that. I definitely want us to talk about, as Sula talked about, rhythm, music, exercise, moving, reducing stress. All those things are great. But when you focus on cardiovascular disease, and so tell us really what that is and why does it affect women more than men?
So cardiovascular disease includes heart attacks, it includes strokes, it includes high blood pressure. So really cardiovascular disease affects more than just the heart. And when it comes to African American women, ages 20 and older, 49% have some type of cardiovascular disease, which is surprising. And it's really quite unacceptable because when you really think about it, out of every 2 African American women, one of them will have cardiovascular disease, and starting at a very early age, as early as age 20. And this is completely unacceptable, mostly because 80% of all heart disease is actually due to uncontrolled risk factors. So if we were able to control these risk factors, 80% of heart disease would just disappear. And so this is why our focus is to get women to understand that this is their number one killer, and then also to understand what are the risk factors and how can we best control those risk factors.
How does it present itself, though? I mean, because, we feel a lot of things, during the day, during the year, throughout our lives, in our sleep, when we get up in the morning, we feel things, but a lot of times we just ignore them. And if we're only doing a once a year physical, it's something could show up, I guess, in between. So how does heart disease present itself?
For women, a lot of times it can be atypical symptoms. So men, we know they get chest tightness, very textbook, feels like an elephant is stepping on their chest type of symptoms. But women may have symptoms that are much more subtle, and so women are much more likely to dismiss them. So even something as simple as just having chest tightness or even just an uncomfortableness in your chest. It can be either side of the chest. It doesn't necessarily have to be the left. It can radiate to the jaw, to the neck, to the back. Having unexplained dizziness or nausea, feeling hot and sweaty can be either cold sweats or hot sweats. All of those are symptoms that are much more subtle that might be missed by women. Having shortness of breath that is unexplained or shortness of breath that occurs earlier than what you would think for your level of exertion. Any of those are things that you need to address immediately. So you should be calling 911 if you have any of those symptoms. Women typically hesitate because they have so many things going on. Women are trying to be super women, and they just don't want to take that time to say, okay, I need to take care of myself. And that's one of the things we really, really want to emphasize. Women need to know the signs and symptoms, and they also need to call 911 if they think a family member is having a heart attack.
Before I bring Sula back, Dr. White, one of the other things is, we know that there are disparities that exist in healthcare, and we know sometimes people may feel certain things. They go to a physician, and doctors, I think I've heard this before as it relates to women, sometimes just, make you feel like things are in your head as opposed to what's actually happening. So how can women advocate for themselves when they are really concerned about a situation or a condition that the doctors seem to take, may not take as seriously as the patient wants them to? How do you handle that?
This certainly does happen. And I've had many women tell me they had symptoms, actually went to the emergency room and then got dismissed several times before they actually had their heart attack. And so women really need to advocate for themselves. First, starting out by knowing your numbers. So when I say know your numbers, when you go to your doctor takes your blood pressure, he gets lab work, and he says, okay, everything is fine. And then you leave. But really, women need to know their numbers. They should know for high blood pressure, they should know what their blood pressure is. They should know what their goal is, 120/80 or less. If they're not at goal, then they should be talking with their doctor saying, how can I get to this goal? The same thing goes for cholesterol. You should be getting your cholesterol checked on an annual basis and then saying, if my HDL, my good cholesterol, is not where it needs to be, what should I do to get it to that range? When it comes to diabetes, you should be checked for diabetes. If you have it, you should be trying to keep your numbers below a certain goal. And that's something you should be talking with your doctor about on a regular basis. Tobacco use, the number is 0. You need to talk with your doctor if you smoke so that he can help you get some solutions for smoking cessation. And then also maintaining a healthy weight. So if your body mass index is above a certain number, it makes that so that you're either obese or overweight. You should be talking to your doctor specifically about how can I lose weight? How can I get into a more healthy range? And if you do have any of those symptoms and you go to the emergency room and they say, well, we think you're just having anxiety, you should say specifically, I would like to be tested for heart disease. I would like an EKG. I would like a stress test. And empowering women to say, these are the things that I would like and so that I can have heart healthiness. And I think that's what's most important.
I am so glad that this program is recorded because you gave some very great instructions, I believe, helpful instructions for people who need to know what to say. Because sometimes they get into that doctor's office and or the emergency room and they're just sort of at a loss for what to ask for. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Weish. Sula, you talked about music, you talked about rhythm. What can folks do in the community to really support the message of the American Heart Association to reclaim our rhythm, as you say, and protect and maintain healthy hearts?
Everyone can participate. There's a ton of information on our website. We have local programs and we have lots of local free programs. Tonight at 7:00, you can join on Facebook Live, the DMV Links program. It's going to be terrific. Our very own Dr. Reggie Robinson is going to be on with one of our Go Red ambassadors, Gail Harris-Berry, and her story is incredibly compelling and speaks to everything that Dr. Weish is saying about what you should do and how to advocate for yourself. We have on February 14th, Valentine's Day, we have our Women's Board Affair of the Heart digital luncheon and fashion show. Women can join the event and learn about heart disease and all the research that was funded and how important it is to continue to fund research for women in heart disease, as well as to get women into research studies. And of course, there'll be an incredible fashion show by Bloomingdale's where everybody will be rocking the red. And Dr. Weish will be at an event tonight. Dr. Weish, do you want to talk about that as well?
So for this evening, we have the AKA Pink Goes Red event. And so, as you know, AKAs traditionally wear pink, but we're asking them to wear red tonight because, again, we're trying to focus on specifically empowering women to take charge of their health. And whatever small little changes that you can make, those contribute significantly to decreasing your risk for cardiovascular disease. So we'll be talking about some of these same topics in terms of what are the risk factors and how you can control them. How can you empower yourself to have better health?
This is great. Go ahead, Sula. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we have wonderful events throughout the year. We have a heart walk, which in the non-pandemic times is about 10,000 people in the National Mall. It's free. We want everyone to walk. And even during the pandemic, you can walk where you are. We have a 10K race. So if you're a runner, you can run. We have a golf tournament if you golf, a heart ball. And these events are really to spread the message about the fact that heart disease is the #1 killer of men, women, and children in this country, and to raise funds for all the incredible research that we're funding, as well as the local programs in the community. We've been working across advocacy in Maryland, Virginia, and DC. We were able to pass hands-only CPR legislation in all 3 regions. We work across nutrition and food insecurity. And last year alone, working with our community-based partners, we fed over 7,600 people, patients, and workers healthy food. And we certainly work across blood pressure management. Dr. Weish has done so much work for us with our federally qualified health centers, and certainly during this time of the pandemic, to get virtual information out to clinicians and people about how to manage your blood pressure.
Wonderful. I am so glad that the two of you joined us today. Dr. Weish, my last question. When folks finish watching us today, if there's just one little thing, I mean, we talked about movement, so I think that's important. Folks need to get up off the couches and the chairs and whatever and do something, right? Just start moving. And maybe that's your answer. What is that one thing someone can do that will really benefit their heart right now?
Movement. Absolutely. That is definitely it. Physical activity does everything that you want it to do. It basically decreases your risk for anxiety. It decreases stress. It's a good stress management. It's great for the heart. American Heart Association recommends 150 minutes per week. So that's just 30 minutes 5 times out of the week. And it actually improves your lifestyle. So, I mean, actually, you live longer when you exercise, and you can incorporate the music with it. That helps exercise go a little bit faster for me, a little bit better. So definitely and you don't need anything. So you can get a pair of tennis shoes and go for a walk. Well, not for today. It's a little rain. You can get a pair of tennis shoes and just
Right. Well, I was going to say it's Black History Month, so go pull out some of those oldies but goodies and practice up on those old steps that you used to do so well and kind of forgot. Don't do any. What was the one, the good foot or anything like that you might trip and fall. But
do some line dancing.
The twist will work, right? Or line dancing. But remembering some blasts from the past. Thank you so much for being with us today, for reminding us of the things that we can do to maintain a healthy heart. And hopefully, Sula, is that walk going to take place this year?
Yes, it is. We're going to have the walk in November. And listen, you can walk anywhere, anytime. That's what Go Red for Women and this theme is all about. Walk around the block,
walk
the dog, take the stroller, do whatever you want, but just try and get in 20 minutes every day if you can.
I say grab a friend and go take a walk. We've been doing a lot solo the last 2 years. So right now, I think we can grab a friend and get ready for that big walk in November. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for
having us.
Happy American Heart Month. Let's keep those hearts pumping. All righty. Thank you. So, yeah, I mean, it's a rainy day today and it's cold and all that kind of stuff. I think it is important. We've got to keep moving. Our heart is a muscle. We've got to take care of it. If we don't take care of it, it won't take care of us. So I'm glad that we were able to have them on today to talk about heart health. But now we're going to shift because I am really excited to bring cartoonist Walt Carr onto our show, onto our program today, who's also rocking some, actually, he's not rocking red. I think you're rocking orange. Is that correct, Walt?
You're absolutely correct. Orange for Morgan State University.
Morgan State, is it orange and blue?
Orange and blue.
That's right.
Here's the blue.
Exactly, Morgan State. And you're an alum of Morgan, right?
Yes, I graduated in 1955. It was Morgan State College when I left. It's now Morgan State University.
When you went to Morgan, what did you plan to be in life? What were you going there to major in and to become?
Well, I was quite like most freshmen, really undecided. Because I played sports, I thought I wanted to be a physical education major, but I switched to art education. And only to find out after 4.5 years that I didn't think I was quite cut out to be a teacher. And I wound up actually teaching. My first job working at Aberdeen Proving Grounds as an instructor with the military.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a sort of a weird route to becoming a cartoonist. How did you get on that path?
Well, I've been drawing ever since I first picked up a pencil, to be honest. As a matter of fact, my mother saved everything, including my report cards. And in the teacher's comment section, they had Walter spends too much time doodling in his notebook. So I've always been drawing from a kid, and stayed with it, and actually wound up being recommended to go to the Philadelphia Museum of Art for Saturday art classes. And of course, when I got to Morgan, I did change to art education as a major.
Mm-hmm. So you've been doing this now for, gosh, what, 56 years it's been?
I keep hearing 50, but it's over 60.
Over 60 years.
Yeah.
Amazing. And do you remember the first time you got, not as an educator, but as a cartoonist, do you remember the first time you got paid for it?
Yeah, it was actually something I did for the Afro-American newspaper when I was in my early 20s, I'm sure. And of course, then when I got to work at Social Security Administration in their art department, that's when I really began to grow as a cartoonist and actually began to send cartoons out to magazines in hopes of being published.
And your first publication, was that in the Afro, or where are
Yeah,
some of
and
the
the
places
Afro was the first drawing I
okay.
did, was a little spot illustration. And I think I was working in recreation at that time,
Uh-huh.
because I worked in recreation for 4 years after leaving Aberdeen Proving Grounds. And then I started working in the graphics section at Social Security Administration in 1960. And of course, my art portfolio was one of the main reasons I got that job as an illustrator. And of course, I got an opportunity to do a lot of cartooning, illustration, and also learning about graphic design. I didn't know beans about graphic design. I used
Mm-hmm.
to tell people going to work was like getting paid to eat ice cream, because I was learning on the job about publication, graphic design, layout, and design. I hadn't done any of that before.
Wow, wow. So, we're in day, what, 4 of Black History Month, and your cartoons are not limited to the story of Black lives during the month of February. You do this all year long and have been doing it for decades. Why do you feel it's important to show particularly how political issues impact the Black community and our condition in America?
Well, hopefully I'm not only sharing my ideas and thoughts with regard to the political landscape to Black readership. I'm hoping whites get to see it too, because that was the reason why I started doing editorial cartoons, is you never saw the Black spin or the Black point of view in political cartoons on the editorial pages of mainstream press. And I decided when I retired, I think I started back in 93, because the Washington Informer and the Pittsburgh Courier are two of my oldest clients, really. And I wanted to display our spin, our take on issues that impact us. And everything impacts us, but you never hear about how we feel about it. And so I chose to
Exactly.
do it visually.
And do you think, has it impact? I know, these cartoons normally, or editorial cartoons usually fall on the editorial pages of newspapers. And so there's a lot of commentary there. I'm trying to flip here now to show the one that ran this week in the Informer. I've got that up here. You want to talk about this a little bit? If you can remember it, it says, because I know you do quite a few, but it says, kids are wiser than a lot of adults. And here a kid is saying to, and these look like white folks too, don't hide it from me. Let me learn from it. And it looks like he's talking about U.S. history, and he's talking to a representative from the school board, saying,
Yeah,
don't hide it from me. Let me learn from it. Talk about that a
that
little bit.
that was my take on this critical race theory
Race theory. Mm-hmm.
that you keep hearing about. And white folks continue to want to whitewash our history. I mean, history itself I break history down very simply. History happened. And I think the kids are better suited to know the truth about what happened. I think too many whites are concerned about their kids feeling guilty about their heritage and their white forefathers and the like. I don't want the kids to feel guilty. I just want them to know the history, what actually happened, pure and simple. And I think they'll be much wiser for that. And they're going to be, I think, a much better citizen for knowing the truth and seeing change, and also knowing that more change is still required, pure and simple. So that's what that was all about. Don't hide it from me. Let me learn. Knowledge is powerful.
Exactly. I've been studying a lot. I do it every year. And every year I learn more and more about Dr. Carter G. Woodson and why he established Black History or Negro History Week so many years ago. And he is considered the father of Black History Month. And we're honored, to have the fact that he was from this area, taught in local schools, and his home is a historic landmark here in the District of Columbia. And you sound a lot like him when you're talking about,
But I'm almost as old as he is, probably.
Well, I
Even though
don't
he's
think so.
gone.
Well, yeah, yeah. But, how do you, what do you feel the impact of your cartoons have been? I mean, you're talking about retiring now, and there are only a handful of Black cartoonists in this country. I know that you were on a panel not too long ago with a couple of them.
Right.
Your voice is going to be missed through your cartoons, and who's there to pick up the mantle?
Well, there are a lot of aspiring cartoonists of color out there. Trust me. There are various and numerous platforms that they can display their work on rather than newsprint. Because unfortunately, right now, there are only about three Black cartoonists in mainstream press. And that's, Ray Billingsley, the creator of Curtis, who just won the Rubens Award from the National Cartoonist Society in the 75th year. He's the first Black to win that award. It's like the Academy Awards for cartoonists.
Wow.
And then there's Darren Bell, who draws Canterville, which he lays into a lot of political stuff. And he's in the Washington Post 7 days a week, 5 dailies and Sunday. And then there's Rob Armstrong, who does a strip called Jump Street. But they're out there. We've cracked the door, but it's incredible. After all of these years, we're still not as big as we should be. I mean, the Washington Post has, I think, 43 comic strips, with only 2 of them Black. The Baltimore Sun has 22 comic strips and only 1 Black strip. So there's a lot of work to be done. We're trying to crack that paper ceiling, not the glass ceiling, but the paper ceiling, and it's still ongoing.
I'm often wonder, I heard you all talking about him the other day because he got so much publicity back in the past, and I can't think of his name right now, but the author of, or the cartoonist who did Boondocks.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened to Aaron Magruder.
Right.
I don't know what's happened. I know he made one of the biggest splashes in syndicated comics when he first came out. There's a lot of controversy because he was spot on in his assessment of the hypocrisy that we've been dealing with for decades. And then he went into animation and was only coming on. He left the syndicate, moved to LA, left the syndicate, and was doing something on television, but I don't know what his situation is right now.
Yeah. We have to search him out and find out. We don't want to forget those folks who've made those big splashes. Like you, he's made Black history as well. So, what are some of the issues, and we're going to close out with this, but, if you were looking at this year, what are some of the things that you think you will be addressing in some of your editorial cartoons? Political issues, social issues.
As you well know, is to focus on the many Black issues that we have been dealing with for decades. As a matter of fact, because Black papers only come out once a week now, they used to come out twice a week. I remember when I sold papers in Philly and Baltimore, and Tuesdays and Fridays. But because I only get 52 shots, as I like to say, I try not, particularly in the last 13 months, I don't want to give Trump any more oxygen than I possibly can, because there's so many issues that we deal with in the Black community. Police brutality, health care access, schools, civil rights. I want to devote most of my remaining time, to issues that really only have to deal with us and our issues and problems. The struggle continues, and I'm going to keep swinging that bat as long as I can. But I just want to stay with issues that really, really are essential to our existence and our survival.
Fantastic. You're going to retire soon, I hear.
Yeah, my old peoples are getting my eyesight has something to do with it. I'll be 90 this year if I'm fortunate enough to be around in August.
No one would have guessed that. I'll tell you that all the time. You hide your age well.
I hear that. But I know I'm blessed. But I'm actually tired.
Yeah.
Because I go to sleep thinking about a gag idea. I lay in the bed in the morning trying to think of a gag idea. And as you well know, I send out 2 or 3 cartoons a week, knowing that most papers are only going to print 1. But I just want to get them out of my head and onto the paper.
Wow. Walt, thank you so much for joining us. We certainly do appreciate the contributions that you've made, particularly to the Black press and the Black cause. And we're going to savor every moment we have with your cartoons until you decide to put down the pen and wish us goodbye.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me and being a part of this. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All righty. All righty. Enjoy and take care.
Right.
And speaking of cartoons, oh, I'm sorry, Chevy. Okay, we're gonna switch a little bit here, and you all don't know that we're switching. Walt, you still there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're gone now. Jay, we're having some technical difficulties today. Hey, Jay, how are you?
Doing okay, Denise. How are you doing yourself?
Wonderful, wonderful. We're still sticking with education because we're going to talk now about your program, Act Now Education. And first of all, let me just say, I found out not only are you not in the DC metro area or in the United States, you're in Bahrain.
Yes, I'm currently overseas serving a tour in Bahrain as a cryptologic warfare officer.
Oh, wow. Okay. And how long have you been there? Tell us a little bit about Bahrain. Nobody's traveling these days. We're jealous. We want to go someplace. And I know you're there for work, but what's your experience been like in Bahrain?
So Bahrain is an awesome place to be. Essentially, as long as you're not here during the summers, because the summers can get up to 130, and that's not that's hotter than for most. But it's definitely a beautiful place to be. You're right near the water. It's an island essentially, and it has a lot of creature comforts. They're essentially nice buildings, like the place that I'm staying in now. If you were to find this in the States, it would run you a pretty penny. So I enjoy being out here. The culture is good. The food is good. People are very hospitable. So has a lot of hospitality. So it's not what you would think for a Middle East country. Everyone speaks English. So yeah, I enjoy it. It's a great location.
What's one of its? I don't know geography, so I'm sorry. That was my worst course in elementary and high school and junior high school. But Bahrain is close to what? Where is it?
Well, Bahrain is close to Dubai.
Okay.
So yeah, it's near those two countries. Also near it's not too far away from. You can actually go to Saudi Arabia. Like if you want to drive, you can drive to Saudi Arabia. So that's the closest country to us. But it's a little island right off Saudi Arabia.
And do you see a lot of people there that look like you?
Oh, absolutely. Well, in the military, yes. There are a lot of folks out here. Yeah, absolutely. Just had dinner with brunches are pretty popular out here. There are a lot of different places that you can go to have brunch. So it's pretty normal for people to get together and have a brunch, talk about talk about what's going on. And then also this is a good place to travel. So a lot of people actually do a lot of traveling when they're here. They go to Egypt, they go to the Maldives, they go to Italy, Europe, because you're not too far away from any location from this location.
Wow. And what time of day is it there?
Right now it's 8:44 p.m. in the evening.
Right. It's almost bedtime. So I won't hold you up too long. But so tell us, first, thank you for your service. You're in the Navy. We appreciate that. And all that you do for, to protect us and this country. But talk about, the Act Now education program. What is that?
So Act Now Education is a nonprofit that I founded. I started this idea maybe about 12 years ago. And essentially came up to me as me looking for opportunities to kind of further upskill, advance, get some certifications. Because I was considering getting out of the military at that time. And I really didn't have much to offer the job market. I mean, I had training for my job, but if I was to actually apply to my civilian counterpart, they may have college. I didn't complete my college at that time. So I was just looking at resources that can help me get a leg up so I can be able to present myself better when I write my CV or my resume. And so as I started to dive in, I went from 0 certifications and having no degrees to knocking out 15 certifications in a year and knocking out my associates and then working on my bachelor's. And not relatively hard. It was just more so there was just opportunity after opportunity. And so this provided a unique opportunity for me at work because, a lot of people were actually transitioning the military. I was considering it. I didn't necessarily just pull the trigger just yet. But there were folks that were closer to their transition point, and they hadn't done any of the stuff that I mentioned, nor did they know about it. And so Act Now Education kind of became providing them with these free resources that they can utilize. And it's for the military community to take advantage of upskilling opportunities. And then when I mean military community, I'm essentially saying military spouses, active duty, veteran, transitioning service, reservists, National Guard. So we try to provide resources that benefit. There's over 40,000 different resources out there for the military community to take advantage of. The problem with most of that time is a lot of people don't know about those resources. So we try to provide that directly.
So how do people, get involved?
Absolutely.
Get some of the benefits. What do they have to do?
Absolutely. So you can find us on actnoweducation.com. We'll do interviews with different organizations to kind of talk about what their benefits are. If you join our Facebook group, we have about 18,000 service members within the military community. That's a part of our group, and military spouses, and we share the information there. We have a partnership with Coursera. Coursera is an institute that connects with different colleges and universities and organizations, so like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, and they have certifications not Microsoft, IBM, and they offer certifications related to the different types of career fields. So you can take a course, get a certification, and through Act Now Education, we provide that all for free. As long as you're a veteran and you or a military spouse and you meet the requirements, we'll give you a free account. You have that for a year to knock out any upskilling opportunity. We're also partnered with Intuit to provide bookkeeping certifications for military spouses because, well, some of the problems for spouses is the service members jumping around to different locations. So it's kind of hard for the military spouse to find a career and be able to grow in that career. So this remote opportunity with Intuit provides an opportunity for them to be able to do that and not have to necessarily worry about what the next duty station they're going to do, what type of job they'll have.
You said something earlier about, not knowing or what skill set you really had. I guess once you left the military, you decide to stay in. But I'm sure that's like the kid and I was one of those, well, sort of, you graduate from high school and you're figuring, okay, I'm supposed to be an adult now. I'm 18. What do I do with the rest of my life? Or you finish college, you do 4 years and then you get out, you're still not sure, especially if you didn't take advantage of internships or what have you. And now you're out and you're trying to figure out, okay, what do I do now? And military service people evidently have those same challenges. Is that right?
Yeah, you have to think it from this standpoint, whether someone's in for 4 years or 20 years or over than that, 30 years. They've done this one job, right? And they may have some leadership skills or some soft skills that, apply to the civilian market, but essentially it's hard trying to identify your passion. And that's why students go to college, they'll pick a major and they realize this is not the major for me. It has to do with the experience and being able to understand what interests you, what your passions, what's your why, and being able to determine that, right? So it's the same thing for military folks. As soon as they're getting close to transitioning out, they have to figure out what their why is, what their purpose is. They've done this career successfully, and now they're trying to open the next chapter. So sometimes it could be difficult trying to identify that. And that's also what we help do. I do one-on-one calls with individuals that reach out to me, and I tell them what the resources available. We kind of figure out what their why is and what their passions are. My passion is giving, supporting, and serving my community. And I always get more out of helping folks accomplish their goals than the stuff that any accolades that I've been able to accomplish on my own. So that's why I enjoy it. And that's why I am happy I'm in the military, because it showed me what my passion was.
Give me an example, and then I know time is running short, but give me an example maybe of one person that you've worked with and how they got to you and where they are right now.
Okay, I can give you one. So there was a gentleman that he used to be, I was assigned at one command, and he's heard of my presentations because before social media was, I want to say back in 2010, before I started using social media for Act Now Education, I usually do a presentation. So he got the information, and then he reached out to me and he's like, Jay, I'm really interested, in trying to complete my degree in a certain amount of time. And through CLEPS and Dante's, which are course test exams, essentially, if you pass the test, you can essentially get those college credits. I was showing people how to knock out a degree in 1 year. And wow. So I was like, rather than spending all this money for, tuition costs, you can take these tests, and depending on what school you go to, you can match it up with the degree plan. So he was able to do that, right? And then he got done with his degree within a year. And then he was able to work on his master's in education because he wanted to focus on being a teacher. Now he's a teacher.
Wow.
And he specifically says, like, look, I wouldn't even thought I would have the time frame to be able to do this because, you know, I want to be able to support, go back to my community and teach the kids in elementary school. And he says, now I can do that because you've helped me. And so he's a science teacher. He loves his job. He enjoys what he does. Yeah. And he sent me a message saying that. And so I was really thankful to get that.
Jay, that's why sometimes we think we hear what we're supposed to be hearing, but it's always good to sort of paint that picture a little fuller so people know exactly, what the program Act Now Education is about, and how it can help to change, well, not change lives, but help to, fulfill dreams. I'll put it that way. So this is great. This is great. So tell us one more time how folks can reach out to you or to the program.
Absolutely. You can go to www.actnoweducation.com, and you can also go to LinkedIn. You look up Jay Salters. I'm the only one there. Connect with me. My network is your network. So if you have somebody that you want me to connect you with, I could possibly do that. And then on Facebook, Military Community Act Now Education Group. And then you'll see all the other service members, military community there to help and support any desires or passions or goals or dreams you're trying to accomplish.
That's fantastic. And I know, we don't really have time to get into that, but I know that it's good to have the corporate partners that are working with you as well as the educational institutions to help fulfill the program requirements and to help people move forward. So give a shout out to all of those. You've done a couple, but all of those that are helping you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Denise. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And, I'm trying to take a trip. So, I'm going to put that on my list, Bahrain.
Well, I got a brunch waiting for you. Just let me know.
All right. Thanks so much. Have a good one. Yes, to take a trip, Jeffrey, to take a trip. Joining us again now for our, again, still Black History Month, education, talking about cartoons, what have you. I'm happy to bring on Anthony Tilghman. I mentioned before that Anthony is just a phenomenal photographer, a phenomenal social media influencer, and a phenomenal author. And he has written, Anthony, well, this is called Black Male, Black Hoodie, Anthony's latest book. He does a lot on children's books as part of his program that he works with. And I'm just so glad to bring you in, Anthony, to talk about Make Smart Cool. So welcome to WIN TV.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's crazy being here in front of you, just talking about Make Smart Cool, because, most people know me from photography. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, you whip these books out like pretty quickly, and you always seem to do it, particularly, I'm assuming that this really kind of not only is for children, but, for anybody that wants to pick it up and read it, but you always address issues, current issues. Talk about what is Make Smart Cool, and how do you determine what the themes are going to be of your books?
Well, Make Smart Cool is a nonprofit organization that promotes education for the youth. Right now there's a stigma that being smart isn't cool. And, it's time to, get that mindset that, being smart is the coolest thing that you can be. You know what I'm saying? And that's what people need to understand is that, there's options. You don't have to go to college to be successful. We have trade programs right now, and all of our youth deserves a route to success. And that's what Make Smart Cool is all about. We have mentoring programs. We are education advocates. We give scholarships to students and teachers that kind of helps them get their future goals in place. And we are advocates of education 365, 3 times a year. And that's what, my books are about. It's about issues that are relevant to today's society and what kids go through. And that's what Black Male, Black Hoodie is about, because it's about me. I'm pretty much, this is me on the cover. I'm a Black male, and when I wear a black hoodie, or when I go into a store, I get approached wrong. You know, I get judged as soon as I walk in that door, because we have this stigma that black people are always guilty.
Wow. So the book really tells the story that so many are familiar with, but it's actually putting it in pictures and words about what happens to particularly young black males because of simply just wearing a hoodie and going to shop for whatever, apples in a grocery store, right?
Yep. I mean, just, you know, every time you walk into any kind of store, um, there's that stigma that you're going to do something wrong. You know, and especially these days when you have a black hoodie and they can't really see what you're doing, they already prejudge you. And one thing about the book that I wanted people to understand is I wanted them to know their rights. You know, there's a lesson in this book about what you're going through, but what is the proper thing to do in that situation and how to handle it. And, you know, your parents are, you know, your best, you know, advocates for teaching you about these situations.
Wonderful. And then in the back of the book, which we talk about Make Smart Cool, I like this. Oops. So that people can learn more about the organization and the website. You've got a great hoodie on right now. We can't really see it, but
cool
there you
hoodie.
Go. All right.
Yes.
It's a great hoodie. How can
We do
people
have
get
the hoodies
copies?
for sale, so we actually
Yeah, I'm
sell.
going to ask.
Yep.
No, go ahead. How can you get the book? How can you get the hoodies?
Well, so our website is www.makesmart.cool, because we're too cool for it.com. And you can pretty much buy the hoodies on the website or a t-shirt. So Make Smart Cool started in 2013 because of the t-shirts. We all we did was sell the t-shirts. So, you know, now we have programs, you know, we have initiatives. So we're bigger than just the shirts. Now we're about the mindset. We're changing the mindset that education matters, and being smart is the coolest thing that you can be. So you can follow me, you know, at Twitter at Anthony Tilghman, my name, and at everything Anthony Tilghman, and check out our website www.makesmart.cool. And of course, you know, it's always an honor to work for an amazing, you know, publication such as the Washington Informer. So you got to make sure you check out my photography at thewashingtoninformer.com every week, you know, because photog life.
I love it. I love it. And I think the Make Smart Cool is a movement, Anthony. It looks like it's not just a t-shirt. It's not just a book. It's not just a website. It's actually a movement. And so we hope that people will at least pick up a shirt or a hoodie or something, especially the book, and join the Make Smart Cool movement. I love it.
Yes, donate. You can donate also. You can text to donate. So one thing about us is we're totally, you know, digitized. So you can actually text Make Smart Cool to 44321 from your phone to donate. And you can donate right from your cell phone right now. So that's support us, you know, donate anything you want. $1, $5, you know, just donate, and let's support education for our youth, our teachers, and our community.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Anthony. Was glad to have you on. Keep writing, keep shooting those photographs, and keep promoting being smart and making it cool. Keep promoting that as well.
Thank you.
All right. Glad to have you. We are on the wire, but you know, we cannot end this program today without bringing on, I think, one of the greatest photographers of all time. And that is none other than Roy Lewis. And we cannot celebrate Black History Month without knowing the contributions that this photographer spent almost his entire life documenting and sharing that history and legacy with you, the viewers. Roy, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So you started in photography we have 1964, but I think you have you know the story. So how did you get involved in photography, and where were you?
Really in high school. In Natchez, Mississippi in 55, working at a local newspaper there. City Bulletin, and the editor was a photographer and writer. So, once you get in, when you get started, as you know, your history, once you get that ink under your fingernails, back in the day, nobody does that now, but back in the day when we were publishing newspapers, the ink was involved and the presses and all of that. So that got me started. And then I moved on to Chicago and got hired at Johnson Publishing Company, and that was where I went to school. That
And
place was
Johnson,
my university, Johnson Publishing Company, Ebony Jet. Ebony
exactly.
Jet New Magazine, yeah, that was where I continued my education.
Why was photography so, I mean, how did it capture your interest? What was it about photography that made you realize this was you?
Well, it was looking at other people's work, really. The book called Family of Man, and then Sweet Flypaper with Langston Hughes and Gordon Parks. No, Langston Hughes and Roy DeGarava. When I actually saw what they could do with photographs, the message that you could send, the story that you could tell, the impact, when I really began to look at it, and then other photographers at Johnson saw my interest and sort of kind of prodded me along. And then I got a camera when I was in the service, and when I began to look at what I could do, myself with my eye. I had the eye. I kind of had the eye already, the imagination and the eye. And then when you begin to think about history, Lerone Bennett did this book Before the Mayflower, and I studied that book. And I kind of began to put those two things together, that you could tell, that you could record history, and then the history then becomes art. And so they're all working together, history, photography, art, all of it is, for me, comes together. It works together.
What do you think is you have a lot of prize photos. We were so grateful that you allowed us to use in our last Our House issue a photograph of Dr. King in Chicago when he expanded, his civil rights movement into the issue of fair housing.
Right.
And you had a picture of Dr. King and I think Reverend Jackson and some others as they were leading a march. But you've got a lot of iconic photographs. What do you think is your most, for you, what is your most prized photograph?
It's a series. John Coltrane, I took in 1965, the day my daughter was born, Tasha. I had been to the hospital and, she's born. I went to the Downbeat Jazz Festival in 1965 and Soldiers Field. And this photograph of Coltrane, which ran in ebony. A lot of my photographs in that period ran in ebony. So they kind of what got out there. Then my work with the Wall of Respect in Chicago. And of course, one of the highlights was my first trip to Africa in 1974 with Ali to photograph him regaining his championship with fighting Foreman in Zaire 74 production. It was a music festival, and then it was a fight. And Ali Foreman cut his eye and got postponed for 4 weeks nearly about. And so I stayed that whole time and got a chance to actually almost become a citizen of Zaire because I had a bank account. I was with Ali's family, recording everyday stuff. It was like a great time for me to be there, almost like a citizen. When you get a bank account in the country, I probably would have spent the money had I had the money, but I stayed there for those 6 weeks between the festival and the fight and got a chance to travel with Ali's family and photograph everyday life in Kinshasa. That to me was like, it doesn't get any better than that. Because all the things are coming together. The things that are happening around you, historic, and you're being there in the middle of it. And Ali, of course, when you're around Ali, something is happening all the time. I mean, just whatever. I went to his training camp, and one of my best pictures with him was him running down the road, which I call Strong Man Keep Coming, after Sterling Brown's poem. But Ali was just, to be around Ali was, as we know, we've seen, they're rerunning the Ali film, Ben Burns film now on the WETA. And so if you've seen the film, if you don't see it, plug in, check it out. Ali's one of the great people of this time, and I've been fortunate enough to photograph a lot of the great people.
We know some of us have been fortunate enough to see your exhibits in and around the DC area. I know you've exhibited in other places around the country, and now your photographs are also in the National Museum of African American History and Culture.
Right, a lot of them.
What does that mean for you? What does that mean for you?
You know, it's like when you take a photograph, usually you're taking it at that time, but usually it's an intent. It's for a story, it's for art, it's for a gallery, it's for a book. But the museum is a place that people go and share, look at history that some of them have been involved in, some of the people they know. And a lot of the stories that I did for Jet and for Ebony, they're at that museum now. I mean, the Elijah Muhammad story on the Nation, John Coltrane picture. I did pictures on nationalism, fashion, Jet pictures on all kinds of different stories, Oscar Brown Jr. And so they're now in that establishment. I mean, they have Johnson's files. And so they're there now. And I donated a Wall of Respect picture, but now they have hundreds of pictures that are mine that are in that institution now. So that's pretty good. The other thing is I'm a part of the History Makers, and all the history makers are in the Library of Congress. So I'm in good company there. And this photography, this camera has taken me a lot of places, and I'm still photographing, still working with it, still not as much, but I'm still working with it, and I'm still taking assignments from the Informer.
And we appreciate that. Like Walt Carr, are in a community where there are a lot of picture takers, a lot of folks now, because of this thing, this instrument that we have now, allows us to do a lot of work, and the quality of the photographs are much, much better than they were in the beginning. But if there's somebody out there who really is aspiring to make a career out of photography, is it still possible to do that? And what would you advise them in really sort of using that instrument to make a difference, particularly in the lives of Black Americans?
Well, choose subjects that you like first, and an area. Sometimes some photographers specialize. I say that's fine, but don't specialize up front. Sort of take a little bit of everything. And like some photographers are sport photographers, some are news photographers, some are art photographers. But decide on an area, because you have more options now. You got more formats, more areas to sell images, and the value of photography has gone up. I mean, when I was starting, if you got $500 or $600 for a picture, hey, that was great. But now it's thousands. And so, it's a profitable, a lot of competition, because that little thing that you just waved there, that little camera on that phone, which iPhone spent a lot of money to develop. I mean, I'm on an iPhone now on television, so hey, and the picture quality is good and the sound is good. So, it's here to stay. It's the phone cameras are here to stay. They're not going anywhere. But I would suggest start with a camera, a regular camera. I would suggest shoot black and white. I would suggest shoot what you see in front of you, and then begin to make prints. Don't just look at it on your computer. Make a print. There's nothing like looking at a print, an actual physical print, because that tells you something that you can't get off the screen or looking at it on the phone. Look at prints. That's what collectors are looking for, prints, black and white prints from negatives. And that's where a lot of the value. I know that we're in a digital age and all of that, but the collectors are looking for negative prints, printed black and white. I'm meeting with someone next week about prints for the museum, and that's what they want, are prints. I mean, it's all open. I mean, it's when I started in the 60s and the 50s, the avenues, it was just newspapers, magazines, but now you have almost unlimited. I mean, it still has by barriers. Let's just say barriers. But their opportunities are more, and more of the young people are going into commercials, working with ad agencies and international magazines and international film. And that's another area. I mean, you can go into film. I went into film. I moved from photography into film.
Wow. Well, I want to, Roy, we could talk all day because there's a lot of other questions I really would like to ask you, but we'll spend some other time on that. Just, protecting your images, copyright, all that kind of stuff. I think folks don't really think about now because of this.
Yeah.
But we'll have a conversation about that a little later. But I want to thank you because, of the contributions that you make to Black history because of the work that you've done throughout your career. And we're so blessed that you're still at it. So
am I. I'm happy about it.
All right.
Thanks
Thank you
a
for
lot.
being with us. All
Thanks
right,
for
Roy,
having
thank
me on
you.
WIN. And this program, you got a lot of information. I was just listening to all this information that you got in this program today. It's really valuable in terms of our health, our state of mind. And I've worked for the Heart Association, so I know the important works that they do. And
Wonderful.
this was a great program today.
Thanks, Roy. Appreciate it. Have a good one. And you all have a good one. This brings us to the end of another edition of WIN TV. We want to thank you so much for being with us. Don't go away because we have What's Going On DC coming up next. Don't forget to join us next week. We're going to do more Black History more Black History programming, bring more people to you with news you can use. So until then, have a great week, and we'll see you next Friday.
Man, you already know what it is. It's Young E-Class, Big Mob, and I'd like to take this time to send a congratulations out to What's Going On DC for their 50th episode. Man, keep it going.
What's up, y'all? Girls, you're Ashley Brown, and I just want to congratulate What's Going On DC on its 50th episode.
Shout out to my boy Media Prince. Happy anniversary.
Hey, I want to welcome you all to the season finale of What's Going On DC and our 50th episode. Hey, and on top of that, it is also Black History Month. As we bid our due to this season, I welcome you to yet another week of all things DMV and our greatness. So come on, join us for the 50th time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to What's Going On DC. Let's get started, shall we? Great news for Washington, D.C. Our beloved football team finally has a name, the Washington Commanders. Take a look.
Everywhere we go, people want to know who we are and where we come from. So for now, we gonna tell them that we are the Commanders, the mighty Commanders.
In not so good news, NBC4 anchor Leon Harris is arrested for a DUI after a car crash. Oh my stars. The anchor was driving along River Road when he struck another car. Fat Trail with a message. Taraji. Our Southeast Queen gets to the bag. She is reportedly being casted as Suge Avery in the music adaptation of The Color Purple. But get this, our girl is also in all of our favorite stores. Take a look.
We know our hair chameleons are everywhere. So the next time you're cruising those aisles, make sure you toss TPH by Taraji in your cart. You can find us anywhere. Mwah.
DMV's own Trap Bob does the reimagination of Yahoo's logo for Black History Month. Hey, shout out to our girl making amazing waves. Hey, she is DMV's 35 under 35. Mayor Bowser plans to use eminent domain to bring a grocery store to the long vacant Capitol Gateway site in Ward 7. It is Black History Month. Take a look at a message from our publisher and Miss Boss Lady herself, Denise Rolock Barnes.
Black History Month, February 2022. I'm Denise Rolock Barnes, the Washington Informer, wishing you a wonderful Black History Month, and thank you, Dr. Carter G. Woodson, for getting us started.
Now check out some of the important landmarks in Washington, D.C. for Black History Month, courtesy of the Washington Informer.
Located at 1538 9th Street, Washington, D.C., there is a statue of Dr. Carter G. Woodson, the father of Black history, that memorializes where he conducted most of his work to promote the study of Black history.
The Anacostia Arts Center is celebrating this month. #BlackOwned, celebrating history in the making. Take a look and come on out. Courtesy of DC Now Events, the famous McDowell's from our favorite movie, Coming to America, is making its way to the DMV for a pop-up. Head to their Instagram now for more details. Wait, I hear we have some more messages from some dope people who want to wish us a happy 50th. Let's take a look.
What's going on? It's Drew Keys, and I want to congratulate What's Going On DC on its 50th episode.
Hi, this is Sandra with Just One PR, and congratulations to What's Going On DC on its 50th episode. Congratulations.
Hey y'all, Justin Drummer here, and I want to say congratulations to What's Going On DC for their 50th episode. Y'all stay tuned.
What's going on to the Media Prince? It's your boy Nels from DC Now Events. Want to give a shout out to the What's Going On DC team on y'all 50th episode. Keep doing y'all thing. Much love, much respect, and keep grinding. Peace.
Lastly, get excited, DMV. Broccoli City is back, and this time for a 2-day festival featuring 21 Savage, Little Durk, Gunna, Summer Walker, Tim's, Wizkid, Money Long, so y'all can dance for hours and hours. And DMV's own Masego, Wale, Ari Lennox, Alex Vaughn, and Rico Nasty. Tickets are on sale now. Well, until next season, we out, folks.